Good day folks, Sean here from Air Photography. In today's video we're going to be talking about the DJI Mini 3 Pro and the DJI Mini 2. We're going to be discussing if you own the Mini 2, whether you should be upgrading or not, or perhaps you don't own a drone yet and you're thinking of buying one and you've got it narrowed down to the Mini 2 or the Mini 3, but you're not quite sure which route to go. The Mini 2 is very appealing because it is significantly cheaper, or do you spend the extra money and go with something like the Mini 3? After all, it is far superior when it comes to features and camera performance. So in this video we're going to kind of cover all those aspects and do some video comparisons. The Mini 2 really did set the bar high last year, a year and a half ago I believe it was when it first came out. The first mini drone from DJI to have Ocusync, so we had a good transmission system, and the camera was actually pretty good. But this year DJI really outdid itself with the Mini 3. Basically, we got a full-featured drone with obstacle avoidance, a really good camera, so it can make the decision a little tricky. But before we go into things, I just want to mention that no matter what drone you decide to go with, you will be very pleased with your purchase. Both have a lot to offer for their price point. So let's talk about the price first, because that is basically one of the most important things that we're going to consider when purchasing a drone. We all have a budget that we have to stick by. The Mini 2 comes in at $449 for a base kit, so that's one battery, the controller, and the drone. Whereas the Mini 3 comes in at $759. Now that's not with the controller that has the built-in screen. If you want that combo, then it's going to come in at $909. Again, that will include the controller, one battery, and the drone itself. Both drones do have an option for a Fly More kit or Fly More combo. With the Mini 2, it's a little bit different because you have to buy it as a kit, and that comes in at $599. And basically that gives you a couple extra batteries, a case, and a few extra accessories. The Mini 3 is a little bit different here because they separated the Fly More kit this year, which is actually kind of nice because you can purchase that later. You can start out with just the drone kit if that's all you can afford, and you can always upgrade to one of the Fly More kits later. And they actually offer two versions of the Fly More kit. One comes in at $189 and the other one comes in at $249. The one at $249 has the Plus battery, which gives you a little longer flight time, but we will talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. So that's the first thing you're going to have to consider, is what you want to spend or what you're able to spend. Now, if price isn't so much of an issue and you just wonder whether you should spend the extra money for the features, are those extra features worth it? Hopefully we can answer those questions by the end of this video. However, the first feature I do want to talk about, and it's a reason why a lot of people are choosing the Mini 3, is this year we have the option to get this smart style controller. This is the DJI RC, and as you can see here, it has a built-in screen, and that's very appealing to a lot of people. First of all, you don't have to mess around when you want to go and fly. You can have your drone deployed very quickly. You don't have to worry about compatibility with your phone, which we have seen problems in the past with that. Everything will just work right out of the box. On top of that, it has a nice bright screen. 700 nits. Now, it's not as bright as something like the RC Pro, but 700 nits is decent. And if you have been flying with something like an iPhone, you know how badly those can dim when they get warm. They almost become unusable. So with something like this at 700 nits, it's sustained, so you don't have to worry about it getting very dim on bright days. And really, for that little extra upgraded price to get this controller, it's a really good value for the money. The controller is really nice, it's comfortable, it's lightweight, and it performs well. The other thing that we can do this year is you can purchase the Mini 3 on its own. Now, it wasn't quite available right at launch, but I do believe it is available now. So if you already own something like the RC-in-1 controller, you can purchase just the drone and save yourself a little money. If you go that route, you're going to be spending $669. Now, of all the upgrades that the Mini 3 got this year, probably the biggest upgrade is the camera. To me, that's one of the most important things when it comes to a drone. After all, that's why we're purchasing these types of camera drones, is to capture nice video, high-resolution photos, and DJI has done a pretty incredible job with the camera. Not just with the camera specs, but just the features and everything you can do with that camera. The sensor in the Mini 3 is quite a bit larger than that of the sensor in the Mini 2. It has a 1/1.3 inch sensor, which is actually pretty good for a small mini drone like this. The aperture is now at 1.7, so it's going to perform quite a bit better in low light scenarios. And I don't mean just at night, but even filming at sunset, sunrise, twilight. Even on dull, overcast days, the image is just going to look a lot better. The video bitrate has been increased from 100 to 150, and it's also capable of capturing 10-bit color now. So if you're filming in the flat, decent light color profile, you can capture video in 10-bit color. For some people that's important, other people not so much, but definitely something to keep in mind. And some of the features that they included this year is that the camera can spin vertically, So that allows you to capture vertical video if you want to upload to social media, such as places like TikTok, Instagram Reels, and even YouTube Shorts. Just makes the whole process of capturing vertical video a little bit easier. Another nice feature of this camera setup is due to the way it's cut out here at the front, the camera can look up all the way to 60 degrees. That allows you to look upwards while you're flying and get some really interesting perspectives. Now again, that's not a feature that everybody's going to make use of or is going to find very important, but definitely again something to consider. And the last upgrade to the camera which we've seen this year is if you're a person who likes to take bracketed photos. They've increased the amount of bracketed photos you can take in a shot from 3 all the way up to 5 now. Again, one of those features that isn't going to be important to everybody, but if you do like to take bracketed photos, if you're making HDR photos, definitely an important feature as well. So as you can see, they have made some great improvements to the camera and the camera features. So while we're talking about the camera, let's just do some side-by-side comparisons here. Now I'm just going to start with a quick hovering test here just so we can get a good feel of the quality of the video. We're just going to let the drones hover at approximately the same height. Now I've raised the drone a little bit higher here, and again we're just going to let them hover, and that way we can get a good feel for the quality of the image. Now at this point, let's crop in as far as we can, and we'll take a good look at the detail off in the distance. As you can see, the Mini 3 does have quite a bit more detail, and that finer detail it can capture is just going to make for an overall better image. Now we're just going to send the both of them for a quick flight, again just to compare the differences. Now just keep in mind these were filmed about 10 minutes apart, and lighting conditions can change quickly in that time frame, so it's not going to be an exact comparison, but good enough for you to get a feel for what the differences are. So now that we've compared the cameras and we've talked about some of the new upgrades with the Mini 3 Pro when it comes to camera quality, let's talk about some of the other upgrades and features that they've added that will make this appealing to some people as well. Probably the most important feature that they have added that a lot of people have wanted on their mini drones for a long time is obstacle avoidance. As you can see here, we have 2 sensors on the front, we have 2 here at the back, and we have 2 at the bottom. So as a new pilot, that will make it a little bit safer for you to fly. And in conjunction with those obstacle avoidance sensors, they've added APAS 4.0. And basically when enabled in the settings, if you set it to bypass, it's going to allow the drone to try and find a safe route around an obstacle. This is also DJI's first mini drone to have focus track, which is basically a set of tools such as spotlight, point of interest, and one that a lot of people have been waiting for is active track. So you can now track different objects, yourself on a bike, walking, and that's going to work in conjunction with your obstacle avoidance to help prevent it from running into obstacles. So definitely a very appealing feature to some people. On top of that, we now have master shots, and we can film hyperlapses, which is pretty incredible on a small drone like this. So again, coming from something like the Mini 2 and the price difference between the Mini 2 and the Mini 3, you are getting a lot of new intelligent flight features. Now, a couple other important upgrades you will be getting if you choose something like the Mini 3 over the Mini 2 here, and that is flight time. The Mini 3 with the standard battery is capable of 34 minutes of flight time compared to 31 minutes. Now that's not a great deal of extra time, but if you go to their Plus battery, you can get up to 47 minutes of rated time. Now that's just what they're rated at. You're not going to get exactly 47 minutes, but you do actually get pretty close. So again, that is going to be appealing to some people. Now you just have to keep in mind that the Plus batteries will put the drone over 250 grams. So if you do need a drone that is under 250 grams, then that's really not an option for you. But if that isn't, it's definitely a great little upgrade. Now another upgraded feature you will be getting if you choose the Mini 3 over the Mini 2 or you decide to upgrade, and that is the minimum temperature at what the drone is rated to fly at is quite a bit lower. For example, the Mini 3 is rated to fly all the way down to -10 degrees Celsius. Whereas the Mini 2 here is only rated to fly at 0 degrees Celsius. So again, that's not important to everybody, but if you live in places where you do get a cold climate in the winter, that can definitely extend your flying season. Now I have flown the Mini 2 in much colder temperatures and it does perform just fine, but that is again something you may want to consider. The DJI Mini 3 Pro also comes with Ocusync 3, whereas the Mini 2 is Ocusync 2. So in theory, you should be getting better range and penetration, just a better signal quality altogether. And I don't mean just flying as far as you can, but even when you're in a complex environment like a city with a lot of interference, you should get a better signal. Now, many of you know that I did have some range issues with my Mini 3 when I first got it, but all that has been corrected now with firmware, and I'm actually quite pleased with the range and signal that I'm getting with it now. And the last little feature you will be getting is something called Quick Transfer, and that allows you to transfer the content from the memory card in the drone over to something like a tablet or a smartphone without having to power on your controller. Again, just a little feature, but it does come in quite handy if you just want to transfer over some content quickly. Say you're on vacation and you just want to share some footage to your social media. So as you can see, the Mini 3 does have a significant number of upgrades over the Mini 2. Again, you're just going to have to base it on your budget and what features are important to you. Now, with everything we just discussed about the Mini 2 and the Mini 3, another thing you might be tossing around is whether you should go with the Mini 3 or something like the Air 2S. The features are very similar. The prices are actually not too far off, especially when this one goes on sale. So we're going to save that, however, for a different video. So keep an eye out for that. If you're on the fence about whether going with the Air 2S or the Mini 3, we're going to make a video discussing all the pros and cons of each. So keep an eye out for that video. I should have that up within the week. Well, folks, that's basically it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it and found it had value. Hopefully I have answered any questions you may have had. If you still have questions or concerns, just ask down in the comments below. Either myself or another community member will be happy to answer any questions that you have. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my video. If you enjoyed it and found it had value, make sure you give it a thumbs up. It helps others discover this video, and it's always greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, and we'll see you in the next one.